Finishing your projects well ahead of the deadline might seem impossible right now, but with these two concepts you will be able to pull it off as well. Welcome to Quick Fix, the series where I share concepts that have helped me become more productive or make my work easier. In this episode we're talking about setting milestones and prioritizing tasks based on deadlines. Two things that helped me throughout my entire school career. When I stopped using these two concepts in my projects, I quickly became stressed and got less done. So that you can experience the same sense of calm that I experienced, I'll show you how I use these two concepts. Let's start with milestones. To better understand milestones, imagine you're planning to climb Mount Everest with a friend. You plan your whole route, but you don't plan any stopovers. You're only looking at the path you'll take. Once you're all hyped and ready to go on this adventure, one of you suddenly realizes, wait, we haven't set any timeline, and where are we going to rest? Two very important questions you haven't answered yet, but they're essential if your mountain climb is going to be a success. So you pull out the route again and figure out how much distance you can cover in a day, where the different camps are located and how long you can stay in each. Now you set your milestones and you have a concrete plan for when you need to be where in order to climb the mountain within your time frame. The exact same goes for bigger projects. It's important at the start to know where you're going and roughly what the path looks like, but you should also know exactly what the checkpoints are along the way and when you should reach them. This is super simple to put into practice. Let me show you using the example of planning a thesis, like this one. In that case, you've already got a deadline and a goal set by your university or school. Let's say that deadline is March the 31st. On that day, your complete thesis needs to be handed in a printed form. So you know what the final result looks like and when you need to deliver it. Now you need to figure out what the milestones are. You can define them before you've broken down your next actions or afterwards. For example, if you break down your tasks beforehand, you could use vertical planning for your project. I've shown that process in another video of mine, and based on this outcome, you set milestones that you can achieve. The other way is that you can start with the final goal and work your way backwards, which is what we are going to do now with the thesis. I've already prepared a Google Doc with all the necessary information, but as always, it isn't the tool that does the work, you need to do the work, and it doesn't matter in which tool you do that. Our goal is to hand in a printed version of the thesis until March 31st. And now here are our milestones. Based on that goal, we can define the last milestone, which is hand in the printed version of the thesis. Personally, I use just a table for the milestones, which consists of the milestones, the content of the milestone, and the deadline. The milestone per se is just a headline in a way that covers most of the content. So now let's work our way back to the origin of the project. We know that if we want to hand in the printed version, we need to find a printing service and print the thesis. But before we print something, we need a thesis first. So next milestone is finalize the thesis. In that case, we need to write out every chapter, ask for feedback from our prof, and then work that feedback in. Now, printing this thing takes some time. So let's say we will do that 2 weeks before the final deadline. So let's say just the 15th of March will be that deadline. But before that, we also need to have a finalized thesis. So how do we get there? Well, we need to run our experiment and we need to write all the necessary information, turning the experiment into a chapter and turning researched information into chapters. Well, I don't know when this needs to be done, and it doesn't really matter because we have to do this for all the other steps that come in front of it. If you follow this principle from the end to the beginning, you will have more or less a layout of what your project consists of. And with that, you can plan deadlines. I know this is surface level, but this is all that is necessary to start creating your milestones. Once you've defined your milestones and know exactly what needs to be done to reach each one, it's time to get to work, and this is where deadlines can help. Back in elementary school, my mom used to tell me to do my homework first when I get home, so I could enjoy the rest of the day stress-free. And she was right. This concept of do the important thing first is something you can apply in pretty much any situation. But how do you actually define what's important? There are lots of ways to do this, and one method that really helped me is prioritizing tasks based on the deadline. The tasks that are due sooner should be the ones you do first. It just doesn't make sense to do a chill task you can push off for another week first and then rush into a high pressure one you have to do until tomorrow. You feel that stress creeping even while you're working on the easier task, and that makes it so much worse. To prioritize by deadline, you need to know when your next deadline is. The easiest way to keep track of that is to set an all-day event in your calendar. So basically just open your calendar app, create a new calendar called Deadlines, and then fill in the deadlines you set for yourself. When you're planning out what to work on next, check which project has the nearest deadline and then start working on the tasks related to this project. Instead of doing a calendar event, you can also add a reminder to your to-do list and check which deadline is coming up next. That's how I do it with my tasks and app reminders. It's super easy, it's super helpful. With that being said, here's a quick recap of all the key concepts I just explained to you. You need to break down bigger goals into smaller milestones with their own deadlines. You can set milestones in two different ways. Either you already know what needs to be done and you just need to decide when to get each task done, or you know the end goal, but you have no idea how to get there. In that case, research the steps in between and then create the tasks for those checkpoints. Tackle the tasks with the next upcoming deadline first. You feel more relaxed and hit your goals faster. So go ahead and try using milestones and deadline-based prioritization in your own projects. Let me know in the comments what you think of this approach and whether it was a quick fix for you as well. Wishing you the best of luck in reaching your goals.